All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this daily forecast for tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be Tuesday, July 14th. And if we look at the economic calendar here, you can see that tomorrow we have CPI, which is going to be really important. We have core CPI and CPI coming out on the same day. And so the forecast here is lower than what we got last month, but I believe that we're actually going to get a surprise to the upside. So that's not going to be good for the economy. Okay. So that's the main headline tomorrow. It's CPI. We also have Kevin Warsh that's testifying tomorrow, but that's not really interesting. And then we have some GBP news that is also not great. So that's it for tomorrow in terms of economic news. So now let's look at the charts. Here, if we look at the dollar, today did exactly what we wanted it to do. We have reached this swing high right here. Now, if you look on the 4 hour, we actually created this 4 hour fair value gap right here. And so we can continue higher from this 4 hour fair value gap. For sure, that looks really good for tomorrow. Now, the next target is going to be this swing high all the way up here. So from the 4 hour fair value gap all the way to this target. So higher prices tomorrow on the dollar, it's pretty clear here. I don't think we're going to have a huge surprise. Now, if we look at the majors, some of them should be interesting, like AU, for example. We had a very bearish day, and we also created that 4 hour fair value gap right here. So we can retrace back into it to continue lower. Something that looks a little bit like this, and then we can target lower. Now, the target on AU would be this one right here. This would be the first target. And then after that, we have a lower target all the way down here. But that's a little bit far. I don't think we can reach that second target by the end of the day tomorrow, but we can surely reach it by the end of the week. That's for sure. So AU is interesting as well. The only downside here on AU is that we didn't get the sting back inside the fair value area. So that's not optimal, but we are still rejecting from the weekly fair value gap. And that's enough for me. So this is really interesting for tomorrow. Then if we look at EU, no, I don't like EU right now. Just because we never got that retracement back inside the weekly fair value gap. So that makes it less high probability in this case. So no, that's not interesting. I'm going to remove it from the interest list. Then if you look at NU, nothing has really changed from yesterday's forecast. We still need to see how price reacts uh, to this daily fair value gap right here, this bullish fair value gap that's going against us. Let's see if that can hold, or if it just fails, then we'll have a better idea. But ideally, we want this daily fair value gap to fail to see lower prices on NU. Then USD Canadian, which was my favorite yesterday, still my favorite today. Um, Even though we didn't really move anywhere today, it was mostly consolidation. I think we can still continue higher. We can see the respect right here with those two wicks at the bottom. That's pretty strong in my opinion. And also, really important, we created a 4 hour fair value gap right here. It's tiny, but it's there. Don't forget about it. So that fair value gap right here can definitely push price higher tomorrow. And then let's see, what target do we have? Well, it's pretty simple. The next target is this intermediate term high all the way up here. So USD Canadian, still my favorite major for this week. USD CHF delivered higher today in a very good way, actually. That was not expected. But now we have reached that high. And so I would want to take a step back at this point because after reaching this high, we could have somewhat of a pullback. And also, today was an expansion, so tomorrow can be a consolidation, so we can create that daily fair value gap. So I would say that USD is still interesting for the remainder of the week, but I would rather wait for like Wednesday or Thursday to trade this one. But for tomorrow, USD Canadian and AU are really interesting from those 4 hour fair value gaps. Now the metals, looking at gold. Um, so like I said, I was right. We got some lower prices today, very considerable lower prices. So right now we can still reach this low down here. Um, my only worry at the moment is that we could be in a third candle consolidation on the daily. Tomorrow could be a consolidation to create a daily fair value gap so that Wednesday we can sting back into it to continue lower. But on the other hand, tomorrow is CPI, so we could get a lot of volatility and we could just deliver without really retracing. So it's about reacting here. We'll see what price wants to do when the market opens. We can either start going lower from this 4 hour fair value gap as soon as tomorrow, like this. This fair value gap is also overlapping with the fair value area, so that's important to market. So yeah, first scenario is that we start going lower already from this 4 hour fair value gap. If we don't, that means that we're consolidating throughout the entire day to create the daily fair value gap so that Wednesday we can trade back into it to continue lower. But overall, before the end of this week on gold, we're definitely going to reach these lows down here. Now, if you look at silver, it's very similar, um, going lower as well. If you look on the 4 hour, we also have that 4 hour fair value gap right down here. And we have the possibility to create a daily fair value gap as well. So same game plan here on silver, same thing that on gold. You just want to wait and see, can price start moving lower from those 4 hour fair value gap. If it doesn't, then it means that we're consolidating throughout the day. And after that, crude oil, really good day today, but that's because Trump said that um, the he was blockading the strait again, so oil went straight up. I think what 9% today, which is crazy. Um, so this weekly fair value gap has failed officially. Now we just got a sting inside this bigger weekly fair value gap, so that could create somewhat of a reaction. So we want to keep an eye on that. But again, on crude oil, I think even though there's two scenarios, just like on gold, same two scenarios, either we start going higher already from this 4 hour fair value gap, or we consolidate throughout the day to create a daily fair value gap. So same scenario here on pretty much all commodities. Then after that, Bitcoin, let's take a look. Good, that's perfect. We went lower, 3% today, so that's good. Um, Again, same scenario. Well, it's a little bit weaker than the metals, for example, but overall, I think that same scenario. Tomorrow we can consolidate, create that daily fair value gap, and then sting back into it later during the week. So we'll keep an eye on that, but definitely lower prices on Bitcoin for sure tomorrow. Then after that, let's take a look at the indices. Very happy here about the indices. That's exactly what I wanted to see today. So lower prices on the S&P. We didn't reach this high. We just started going lower, and we also created a 4 hour fair value gap right there that we can continue lower from again tomorrow. So the plan here is just a retracement back inside that fair value gap, then continuing lower and potentially targeting this low all the way down here. So this is it for the S&P. Now, if you look at Nasdaq, Nasdaq actually completely disrespected this daily fair value gap because we closed way below it. So the daily fair value gap that we had on Nasdaq is now uh, invalidated, and now we can keep going lower all the way to this low. Let's put it as a target. And the only problem here on Nasdaq is that we don't have that 4 hour fair value gap that we have on the S&P, but we still have this one here. I don't think we're going to retrace back into it, but if we do, it's not going to be the end of the world. I think we can still continue lower from there. But overall, just maybe higher prices to start the day, something like that. And then at some point, we're going to sting into something and start going lower like this. So that's the indices, very interesting to continue lower, especially the S&P tomorrow. And then finally, we can take a look at the crosses that we have on the interest list. We had Canadian dollar JPY that was supposed to go. This one was supposed to go lower yesterday, but we completely reversed today, which doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I think Canadian dollar JPY is not worth it anymore. I'm going to remove it from the interest list. CHF JPY, this is more like it. So this is still going lower. We got a pretty strong bearish candle today. Now, we're going to get a retracement, probably back inside this 4 hour fair value gap because it's overlapping with a fair value area. And so we can definitely continue lower from that. So CHF JPY makes more sense to me. So this is still interesting. GBP JPY going lower as well, but it's not too clear. I don't like the candle that we got today. We don't have a 4 hour fair value gap, so this is not interesting anymore. I'm gonna remove it. Euro JPY, that's very similar. Well, at the same time, it's GBP and Euro. They pretty much move together. But yeah, this is not great either. So for the JPY pairs, I'm gonna keep CHF JPY. This is my favorite right now. Then after that, we had New Zealand dollar CHF. Whoa, okay, that was not expected. Completely exploded today and reached the target. So now that our target is reached, we have to take a step back, and this delivered beautifully today. I don't know if you guys were able to catch this trade, but that was beautiful. Um, I'm gonna remove this one from the interest list now, but that was a very good move higher. Then after that, we had GBP Canadian, which was supposed to go lower, and it did, which is great. Now, what are we trading towards? We're trading towards that fair value area. So, in order to do that, we're gonna have to sting inside a 4 hour fair value gap. I would wait for the next 3 hours and 15 minutes. I would just wait for this 4 hour candle to close and for this fair value gap to get created if we can create it. And then from there, we can get lower prices like this, targeting the fair value area. So this is still interesting, but not necessarily for tomorrow. It could be interesting more towards the end of the week. Then after that, we have GBP New Zealand dollar. Um, yeah, that's not great at the moment. It's not really doing what we wanted it to do, but at the same time, we can still reject. We can still reject from this weekly fair value gap. So I'll keep an eye on this. And finally, GBP Australian dollar can still trade back down to one of those weekly fair value gaps, but right now we just don't have any context. Like we don't have anywhere to trade from. So I'll keep it on the interest list, but it's not interesting for tomorrow. So, anyways, that's it for the crosses. We still have four on the interest list. They're not great. I wouldn't say they're like A plus setups, but they could be decent. They could present some opportunities throughout this week. So we'll keep you know looking at them throughout the week. So little recap here. Very simple today. Honestly, the markets were really high probability today, so it's going to be the same tomorrow. On the dollar, we're just expecting higher prices. If we do get those higher prices, then take a look at USD Canadian. This one still has room to run. I think this could be really interesting. Then on the metals, gold and silver, just lower prices tomorrow or a consolidation, depending on how we react to this 4 hour fair value gap right here. So either expansion to the downside or consolidation on the metals. Then same scenario here on crude oil, but inversed. So higher prices or consolidation. We'll have to see what happened with the Strait tomorrow if Donald Trump comes out with something. But for now, that's the plan. Bitcoin lower prices as well. Very bearish tomorrow. And then finally, the indices on both the S&P and Nasdaq, we're just expecting lower prices, which is really simple. So, all right, lads, that's it for today's forecast. Overall, I think we had a good day today. Very high probability. Well, not necessarily high probability, but it's exactly what I said in the forecast yesterday. So, the predictions were perfect. Now, tomorrow, we can expect the same thing or a consolidation because we can create a few daily fair value gaps. But keep in mind that we have CPI tomorrow. We have CPI and Core CPI coming out at the same time. Core CPI is the Fed's favorite data. That's what they use to take the interest rate decisions and everything. So I think we should really, really be mindful of the fact that CPI is coming out tomorrow and potentially not take a trade before that, only after the data is released. Because I think CPI will bring a lot of volatility. And why do I think that? It's because I believe that we're going to get a surprise to the upside and we're going to get inflation all the way up to like 4.5%, which would be completely crazy. We haven't seen that. So I think that's where we're heading. I could be wrong, but this is my take. So that's it for the forecast. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Ciao.